I gotta tell you, I was so excited to see you as host of the show. I was a fan back in the day when the show first aired. And now you get to be a part of this moment in pop culture history. How does it feel? Like, how did this all happen?
It was all kind of nutsy. So first of all, I knew there was a show that my agent and my manager were talking about, and I knew it was very exciting. And they said to me, "Well, before you can have a conversation, you've got to sign an NDA." I was like, "Am I going to be James Bond? Like, what's going to?" So I was like, "Fine." And then we ended up talking about the show and the fact that it was a kind of like a new version of Joe Schmo, and I hadn't grown up with that show, obviously, because of coming from the UK, but I knew the Truman Show. I knew what that was. I knew how the show would work. And we were talking about it, and they were saying, well, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do your job that you normally do on dance. So you'll have, your script, and that will be set, and there'll be certain points that you have to hit. But the whole idea is that you're going to have to run with everything else as well. And you're going to have to be able to improvise. And if there's something funny that happens, you're going to have to go with it. But at no stage can you give the game away. You've got to like keep it tight. You've got, and at that point, I'm like, well, there's hundreds of people working on it. They've been working on it for months and months. There's millions of dollars at stake. It's a big undertaking. But what I liked about it was kind of scratching that kind of comedy itch that I got. I've worked with some great comedy people over the years, whether that's, Ricky Gervais or Peter Kay or I've worked with some really great people and I love that. Um, but I also turned around and went, look, if the idea of this show is he's the only one who doesn't know that this is happening, if it's gonna be mean, I'm not your girl. A, because I don't want to be mean, but also B, because I'll be rubbish at it. Go and give it to somebody else because that is not like that's not my bag. I'll just be no, like I basically said go and give the job to somebody else. And they went, no, 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 we want you to do it because of that, so that you can roll with it and do everything that you do and make them believe. And I was like, okay, but that's it's good, right? We're at a good, and they're like, yeah, yeah, this is going to be great.
I feel like you are that person for the job specifically because of that. You have that TLC, that love that emanates from you. So yeah, and the fact that you get to improv. I want to talk about some of those moments because I don't know how you keep a straight face during this. What were some of the moments that you kind of had to think quickly that you were like, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to pull this off?"
Oh yeah, there are so many of those. There are moments where we think that he might know, or I'm watching his face to see what I think he thinks at that specific moment in time, or the goat poops on my shoes. That's another bit. There was another bit where there was one of the producers that I worked with for like we first worked together 30 years ago on MTV back in the UK. And I was like, "Where's my card?" And he's like, "Oh, it's here." And I was like, "No, I'm not really asking you that. I'm just doing it like I'm doing it for." He was like laughing. Then there was just those moments where you had to make it believable. Like for me, one of the most stressful moments was at the very end of the series. So, the hope is that you get Ben to this point where he's the greatest human being on the greatest human being on the planet, where he's completely selfless. He puts himself behind everybody else, and he's just great. But then there's also that moment where I have to reveal to him that everybody, from the floor manager to the cameraman to the person he thinks is his best friend, Maya, has been lying to him. And you have to reveal it in such a way where it's shocking for him, but it's not disconcerting, and it doesn't kind of make him freak out. And you only get one chance to do that. And you can't say stop. And you can't say, can I do it again? So that was very it was scary for me too, which in a weird way sums up the whole thing. So when you say, about the original Joe Schmo, I feel like the production was in control, whereas I feel like on this, Ben was kind of in control. We were like, he was the center of our orbit, and we were just kind of trying to spin around him, make him believe, and make it great.
We do live in such a different time now, just with the way reality shows have evolved. And I feel like so often you hear people say, "I feel like I'm in the Truman Show," or
Mm,
I feel like I'm being Joe Schmoed. And I feel like we're kind of in a time that's like it could be possible. I mean, it did
yeah,
happen to Ben.
yeah, absolutely. But I was always very, very concerned that he should have the greatest time ever. And weirdly, all the cast and Ben and myself all stay in touch now because it was such like a bonding experience between us all. It was brilliant.
See, I do want to get into the concept of the show because that in itself, when you were revealing that and you're like, it's the GOAT USA. So, what kind of explain to our audience what exactly is the GOAT? What are some of the things that we're going to see this season of
Well,
the GOAT?
so to put it the most basic, the GOAT is the greatest of all time. So essentially, it's a reality show where you become the greatest of all time. On the flip side of that, we are very much playing it for comedy and for laughs. And so there's lots of goat worship and pagan ritual set in old school Greek mythology at the same time. It's so ridiculously bonkers that by the time we were kind of like getting to the end of the series, some of the script was so blow your mind nutsy that I actually don't know how I even kept a straight face. I don't know how I said it. There were spiders, there were goats, there were mountains, there were gods, there were every little bit of it I had to talk about and keep a straight face and make sure at the same time. I remember saying script and then looking at Ben and going, is he taking it in? Is he believing it at this point? So yeah, it was definitely nutsy, and we chose to we were trying to make him believe that it was this massive format from Korea that had been a huge hit around the world, and he just, he'd come from Baltimore, he wasn't that into TV. We were just trying to make him believe that, and I think we succeeded.
I gotta tell you, I start to tear up with laughter when I just hear
Oh
you
yeah.
talk about it, because it is hilarious. The
Well,
show is out.
you only have to look as far as this Shibuya He to know how ridiculous it was. That was written in the script, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do with this? I was like flicking through papers, and I was like, I kept reading it, and I'm like, I've got to do something with it, but I don't know what to do. And it doesn't mean anything, right? It's not a word, it doesn't mean anything. So what am I going to make it mean? And the best I could come up with was it was almost like a battle cry mixed with Thundercats, mixed with Freddie Mercury on stage at the Live 8. But sometimes then it could also go quite tender or quite serious and quiet and thoughtful, Shibuya-hi. And
Did
it
you,
changes.
you know what I want to say to that? Shibuya ho!
No, I know. But you know what's the funny thing? We never had the meeting where we had a talk about it.
Oh
Like
my
I didn't
gosh.
talk about it to the producers, and then I didn't talk about it with the rest of the cast. So anytime where I do it and they respond to me, they just responding in the moment. That's how brilliant they were, our cast of characters.
Amazing. Kat, you are amazing. I'm so happy we got to hang out today. This was awesome.
Nice to see you.
Yes, the Joe Schmo Show is out on TBS January 21st. Make sure you check it out. Kat, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So lovely to see you again, my
Yes,
lovely.
yes, you too, you too. Hope to see you soon.